stress and coping. You must be aware of these two terms, stress and coping. So how many of you have experienced stress in your life? Raise your hands. Have you ever experienced stress? Keep on raising hands. Anyone who has not experienced stress, we would like to know more about that skill. Whoever has experienced stress in his life, raise your hand. This response is also uh, going to talk about your attendance in the class, whether you're attending the class or not. How many of you have experienced stress in your life? Raise your hands. Keep raising your hands, don't lower down. $52 by now. So those who have not raised their hands, should I assume that they have never experienced stress? $58. Out of 85 students, by now I can see 59 students raising their hands, that now it is 60. They have experienced stress at some point of their life. 62 now. 63, 64, 65. Abhijit Behera, A. Rohit Reddy, Amrita Surya, Aniruddha Balakrishnan, Ashutosh Bhagat, Ayush Gupta, B. Satvik, Devansi Mahananda, Harshit Singh, Irfanur Rahman, K. Prashant, Maharshi Rohit, Mohan Pradhan, Mohit Gautam, Piyush Pradhan, Sakinana, C. Deepu, S. Sankarji, S. Ramakant, Siddhant Kumar Jena, Sudeep Nayak, Tanvir Ahmad, Ushav Oja. So the names that I have read have never experienced stress in their lives. The rest of the people have experienced stress in their lives. So we must congratulate those people who have never experienced stress in their lives, and let's know how stress has not affected them and how they are leading their lives. This is a good sign that some people have never experienced stress. So out of 88, 87 rather, 68 students have experienced stress. So do not lower your hands, those who have raised their hands. Let me go to some of the students who have never experienced stress. Ashutosh Bhagat. Ashutosh Bhagat is not there in the class, so there is no stress for him. Ayush Gupta, being in the class is also a stressful thing now in this situation. B. Satvik. Chirasmruti Sahu. Devansi Mahananda. Irfanur Rahman. Maharshi Rohit. So obviously they would not have any kind of stress because they are not in the class. Mohan Pradhan. Mohit Gautam.
Yes,
Prashant
sir.
Kumar. Yeah, Mohan. Good. I found you.
Sir, actually, I am attending the class through mobile. There is, I am not seeing any option of raising hand, so I could
It
not
is there. It
raise
is
the hand.
there in the mobile.
Sir, I did not find it. I am searching still now
Okay, at
that
least you
option.
can listen me. That's good. So you never experienced stress, or you ever experienced
Sir,
stress?
sir, experience,
Experienced.
sir.
Okay. Okay. Now the count goes to 74 out of 88. So it has increased after I call the names. Out of 90, now it is 73. A. Rohit Reddy. A. Rohit Reddy. Signed in but not here. Ashutosh Bhagat. Ayush Gupta. B. Satvik. Chirasmruti Sahu. Devansi Mahananda. Irfanur Rahman. Jagabandhu Naik. Maharshi Rohit. Mohit Gautam. S. Chirudipu. S. Sankarji. S. Ramakant. Siddhant Kumar Jena. Sudip Naik. Ushav Ojha. These many people are not responding and they have also not responded to the question. So,
Hello, sir.
yes, Ushav.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was in the washroom, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay. So it's been 15 minutes I am here in this class. So, what is, have you ever experienced stress?
Actually, sir, I experienced, but I always
So
try
raise your
to.
hand. Raise your hand. Do not say anything right now.
Okay,
Raise
sir.
your hand. I am looking for people who have never experienced stress. And people who never experience stress, they are not in this class. That's so interesting. Okay, I am calling the names once again. Those who have not responded to the question, and they are also not responding to their names. A. Rohit Reddy, Ayush Gupta, B. Satvik, Chirasmruti Sahu, Devansi Mahananda, Irfanur Rahman, Maharshi Rohit Mohan Pradhan responded, but he is not able to. Mohan, did you respond to my question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mohit
Sir,
Gautam.
by voice.
Voice, yes. Mohit Gautam, S. Chirudipu, S. Pramakant, Siddhant Kumar Jena, Sudeep Nayak. So I can see 78 hands raised for experiencing stress. Now it is 79, including uh, Mohan, it is 80. So out of 90 students, 80 students have experienced stress. That means those who are absent in this class, they are not responding to the question, might have experienced, we do not know because we don't have the data as they are not present in the class. Fine. They have just registered and they are in the meeting, but away from the meeting. Okay. Now lower down your hands. Since most of us have experienced stress, so we will discuss what is stress then. Who can say what is stress? If you can't say what is stress, you can at least tell how did you experience that stress. Anyone? Mohan, all of you lower your hands.
Sir, may I?
Yes.
Sir, stress can be imagined as the feeling of like feeling.
Do not give an explanation. You just say your experience.
Yeah. So whenever I feel stressed, I feel like the expectations that are put upon me by either others or myself, I will
Hmm.
not be able to reach them, even though I put in my 100%. Like it feels like everything is, even though after you put in everything, it is out of your control, the result. So
Any
you get
any any
stressed.
any any concrete example?
Like I remember when I was preparing for my JEE Advanced, it always felt like no matter how much I studied, no matter how much I remembered my formulas, no matter how much I prepared for the exam, if the exam turned out to be not in my favor, like I had a certain subject that I was strong in, like physics, and I was weak in chemistry, and if the paper was like easy in chemistry and tough in physics, then I would lose out compared to others. So it was kind of like that kind of stress was always there in my mind, even before the exam, during the exam, after the exam, till the result came out. It was always like that.
Okay, that's good. Like you uh, are not able to handle pressure. The pressure
Yes,
is too much
mostly
for you.
uncertainty. The fact that something is so uncertain, but your life depends on it. I mean, it doesn't like it is told that your life depends on it. So that amounts up to a lot of stress in the head.
Okay, can you just tell us how did you cope in that situation?
I tried to remain calm, tried to think positively
How?
that it
How
might,
how how do you remain calm?
by trying to think positively that I'll put in my efforts, I'll put in my 100%, and if it is out of my, like if it is not in my favor, then maybe like I can just think that maybe it was not meant to be, or maybe I was not enough for the exam, or whatever. I was just like maybe it was not meant to be for me this time. So I just kept an attitude that if it comes in my favor, then well and good. If it doesn't, I'll just brush it off, thinking it was not meant for me.
Good. And then your stress reduces.
When the result came, it was like correct only because I missed the like I qualified for the exam as an aggregate by 30 marks, but I missed the chemistry qualification by 1 mark. So on the whole, I didn't get a rank because I missed the one subject. Like I was supposed to get 12 when I got 11, so I didn't.
Okay, but later on, did you? Mm, I mean, any difficulties because of that?
Yeah, it is always now it sets in as a regret that if I had channeled that stress, instead of being stressed, if I channel that into my studies and preparation towards my weak subject, maybe I would be in a better place. But that's the past now. I can't always dwell over it.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else who likes to share the experience of stress and how you have coped? You did cope with that. Ushab,
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Akash?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Lower
Yes,
your
sir.
hands. All of you lower your hands.
Hello.
Yeah, Akash, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In my life I am going through, and even I am now going through, and even I went through various kind of stresses. Like when I was at class 6. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
When I was in class 6, then I broke my hand, and for that reason, I have a dream that I will become an army guy. I will that when after breaking my hand, I lost that dream. After that, when I come to the natural color, then I have a serious ligament injury, and after that, I like to dance, and I couldn't dance now. So that time I was thinking that I was going through various kind of issues, like I couldn't, there are some dreams which is breakdown, like my accidents. So when that's the situation, then when I go through the stress, that what will happen to me, I couldn't do, I couldn't say I have some dream, I couldn't fulfill that. It's like that time I going through various kind of stress.
How do you cope with that situation?
My coping with the situation is like, I think that every people will die one day, and after this, like a little bit satisfying for me. How much wealth you have, how much thing you have, you will die in one day. For that reason, I think that what happened in my bed, I'm just face it and solve the problems, and in one day I will die. So after the everything will finish. So how much wealth you have, how much health you have, it does not have effect. For that's like that. For that reason, I think I copy like that. That is a life is like a game. Everything is sometimes it's not. Look as we do, sometimes we cannot imagine what will happen
Hmm.
and what will the problems are. Anything could happen in life. Just I have to face it,
Hmm.
and I have to wait for the destination. And
Oh.
my another hello.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And another thing is I like spirituality, like a mystic. I'm a mystic guy.
Hmm.
For that reason that's helped me a lot. That I think that everything, if the world remains constant and nobody die, one just transform himself to another thing. For them say
Hmm.
it's helped me a lot to, it's a mental power for me to help the cope with the situations.
Hmm.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Mohammed Ibrahim.
Yes,
Mohammed,
sir.
Mohammed Ibrahim, would you like to share your experience of stress and coping?
Oh, sir, it is my handwriting is done by mistake.
Sorry?
Sir, it is
Hmm.
done by mistake.
I'm not able to hear you. What did you say?
Hello, sir.
Hmm.
Uh, Sir, like I also experience stress during my life. Mostly
Hmm.
when I came to United in first year,
Hmm.
I experience stress, but I cope with that.
How did you cope with that?
Sir, like 2 to 3 times I visited to council, and I watched some videos, and through those types I cope with that.
Hmm. Okay. Piyush Pradhan. Piyush Pradhan. Piyush, you have raised your hand. Would you like to say something? Nikita. Nikita.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to share something?
No,
Your
sir.
stress and how did you cope with that stress?
No, sir.
Okay. Piyush Pradhan, R. Bharat Chandra, Hamidullah, lower your hands. Piyush Pradhan, Bharat, and Hamidullah. Anyone else who would like to share? Utkars,
Yes, sir.
would you like to share your stress and
Yes, sir.
coping? Yeah. Tell.
So, like, still now, whenever I start speaking for the first time,
Mm,
there is some stress. In the moment I start speaking, like the few words are coming out from my mind, like from my mouth, that breaks down. But thinking how I would be speaking, what I would be speaking, that makes a create a like stress inside me. Means the
mm,
heartbeats goes and there's a flow of adrenaline.
mm,
But the moment I start speaking, it becomes fine. So I always like frame my mind in the sense that I have to understand that I would be focusing because like I always feel to be judged on how I speak rather than thinking about what I'm speaking. So therefore, I have coped up like I try to put more points into my discussion so that people get involved in that rather
mm.
than they would be focusing on my grammatical aspects and all.
Okay. So, whether your fears come from lack of confidence or lack of knowledge about a particular subject or whatever we are going to talk about, is it because of lack of uh, knowledge and saying grammatically correct sentences, or is it because of fear of people how they are going to judge you?
The second thing that how the people are going to judge.
Okay, so it is like others are. Uh, I mean, they actually they don't do any harm to you, but it's your own thought that creates stress in you. That's what you mean to say.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. And as soon as you start speaking, your that stress comes down or goes down.
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Some of you have said how you have experienced stress and how did you cope from the experiences and also from the discoveries till date. We know that stress is uh, not how what is there outside us, rather what is inside us. How we interpret that situation that creates stress in us. Suppose I am a perfectionist person, and if things are not happening the way I want, I become stressful. I become stressed. Why people are not doing? But the people who are not doing, they are not feeling stressed. It's me who is feeling stressed. And because of my own temperament, you may say anything, temperament, personality, or whatever is there. So it is more important to understand ourselves before we try to understand the stress. We all have a peculiar uh, kind of behavior. We all are different in some way and also similar in many ways. Some situations do create stress in us, and some other situations do not create any kind of stress in us. Some people get bored quickly, some people remain enthusiastic forever. So, what matters is your interpretation of the situation, how you acknowledge the situation, and how you understand the situation. And the first thing is that you must accept that there is stress, that there you are feeling this stress. And what is stress? It is kind of heightened emotions. You are fearful, you are feeling disgusted. So all are heightened feelings for which your bodily mechanisms do not respond in a healthy way. And you try to adjust because your body and mind, they always look for a homeostasis, a balance. And that's the nature of our own being. For example, water. If you keep it at normal temperature, water will remain water. If you increase the temperature, it will become vapor. If you decrease the temperature, it will become ice. But with normal things, it will remain water in liquid form. So the three forms of water, solid, liquid, and gaseous stage, gaseous forms. Our mind is like that, our body is like that. We try to come back to a state that gives us the most tranquility so that we can enjoy life. Many of you have acquired this stress, maybe from your surrounding, from your parents, like how do they interpret the situation. Some of you might be having some bad experiences as a child, and that has made you experience the stress as often whenever you uh, get a chance or whenever you encounter such situations. But remember, you have the ability to cope with any kind of stressful situations too. And students these days are, I mean, those who are too much serious about studies and everything, they are stressed because they compare themselves with others. Too much comparison. It's not about they are comparing, it's about how they have been brought up from their childhood. They have been compared with others. It may be the sibling, it may be the neighbors, it may be the relatives. So that has created some kind of fear among you. And you think that that's the goal. If I fail to reach that goal, then I have no value. Why it is happening? Our ideas of success and failure are very limited. In the sense, not many of us, including your parents, even their parents, we are not open-minded. We try to find some kind of uh, definition, some kind of limitation, and some kind of structure which is comfortable. We do not come out of that comfort zone. We don't like to come out of that comfort zone. We never try that beyond engineering and medical, there are many career avenues which are open for people who want to do. But if you think about Indian students, we have other country students also here. We think that being an engineer or doctor is the sign of success. And because of this limited thinking, we are putting so much stress on ourselves. Parents are also getting stressed. I see many parents take leaves from their work to be with their children during their 10th and 12th board exams. What is the necessity? And if the child is not qualifying for a particular examination, what's going to happen? Whether the life ends there, no one is there to tell them that this is not the life that you are looking for. When it comes to stress, I'll talk a little bit about the symptoms, and especially during this COVID-19, we have uh, developed a new kind of stress, the stress for the unknown. Well, it is there already. It was there before. But when there is a fear and the fear is unknown, it's very dangerous. We don't know when you are going to uh, be affected by COVID-19 or Corona. And you try to take each and every precaution. And then one day, suppose somebody is declared positive for Corona. And if you become more fearful, the symptoms might worse because that affects your immune system. If you remain fearful more of the time, your immunity decreases. Remember. So you should not take it that negatively, we say. Yes, you must take precautions, but do not think too much about which you are not going to do anything. If you can do something, think about it. If you can't do something, don't think about it. Not at all. Suppose some of your distant relatives is suffering from Corona and you are getting frightened. I mean, there is no point. Yes, sure, you can take all the precautions, whatever is required. But you getting frightened is not going to help your distant relative to get a cure. In many of the cases, we find that people who are stressed, they think unnecessarily and at times irrationally. So this irrational thinking and unnecessary thinking is one of the biggest reasons of increased stress. Now you go back to your own experiences. Have you ever had all this unnecessary and irrational thinking pattern? If you have identified that with your kind of stress, raise your hands. Irrational thinking, unnecessary thinking. If you could identify that with your own kind of stress, then I'll tell you how to cope very easily, very nicely. Yeah, go ahead quickly. Quickly, if you could relate to whatever I said about where from the stress comes, and I concluded irrational thinking and unnecessary thinking, which bothers you the most and creates stress in you. Out of 90 by now. Out of 90. Out of 90. 60 out of 90. 70 out of 90. Thank you. So again, in this phase, you could understand like unnecessary and irrational thinking makes you more stressed. I'll tell you a story now. All of you, please lower your hands. Once there was a competition of some frogs to climb a pillar, a very tall pillar that the competition is happening. Who is going to touch the top of the pillar? So frogs are good at jumping. That's why this competition was kept for the frogs. And there are some 200 frogs participated in this competition. When the first frog started climbing the pillar, the frogs, those who were at the ground, they said, "You can't do it. You must know your limitation. How come you are thinking of going to the top?" So everyone started saying this. And that frog couldn't even go for 2 meters height and fell down. Likewise, 199 frogs tried and none of them could go more than 10 meters. And there's the last one who started climbing the pillar slowly, gradually, staying at different places, looking to the ground sometimes and looking to the top. And when the frogs at the ground were shouting, the frog was climbing higher and higher. And finally, that frog could reach to the top. What could have happened? How the frog, one frog could reach the top, whereas 199 frogs couldn't. Why did it happen? Can anyone say? Any guess? Any guesses?
So because one of the frogs said that you can't climb that pillar or tower, so it fitted into the mind of the frogs.
Hmm. And
So they began to think.
what about that one who could do that?
Uh, so he might take it as a challenge or something.
And the frog was deaf.
Sorry,
And the frog was deaf.
I can't hear you, Anujit.
Sir, I'm saying that the frog was deaf, maybe.
Frog was deaf. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that's the answer. The frog was deaf. I mean, this is a story, but literally, uh, this is what is happening to all of us. We are bombarded with so much of negativity in and around us, and we process those negativities more often whenever we attempt anything in our lives. It's fine to lose, but it's not fine to not to attempt. Most of us do not attempt because we have a fear of failure. And this fear, which is an irrational fear, is the major roadblock in the path of our success. Starting from your family, your parents, your siblings, your relatives, your friends, your teachers, your boss, everyone gives you some kind of discouraging news, negative news, or they demoralize you to attempt anything. And if you are a little bit fearful, then you give it up. Okay, no need to go to that kind of thing. And that becomes a habit. You start avoiding, escaping, and procrastinating. And as a result, what happens? There are a long list of failures. People who do at least something. I mean, success is a very relative term. No, we can never define what success is. Success is very subjective also. It could be waking up 1 hour early in the morning. It's a big success for many people nowadays. So let us not go to that debate of what is success and what is failure. But many of us do not attempt things which we are capable of doing because of the external talks that is coming to us and discourages and demoralizes us. And we process those information more seriously. So if you want to come out of those stressful situations, as I could see, most of us have that fear, including me. I'm also not an exception, but we all are in the path of progress and development. So how to do that? The moment you know that your surrounding is not letting you progress, try to stop your ears, try to stop listening them, try to stop processing those information and dedicate yourself to the goals that you have set for yourself. So there would be little stress. Stress would be there because without stress you can't perform well. So a minimal or optimal level of stress is required to perform, but it should not be so much that you won't be able to perform anything. Thank you. Any questions? All of you please lower your hand so that if there would be any questions, I would be able to see from the raised hands. Piyush Pradhan, K. Upender Naik, Pujya Mishra, Muhammad Navan, please lower your hands. Any questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, I read about this intrusive thoughts recently. Can you tell me how intrusive thoughts affects stress?
Intrusive.
Yes, sir. Like the
I,
thoughts which we used to have,
hmm.
which are kind of like negative thoughts. We used to think like we are going through that path, but we are not actually going. Because of that fear, we develop such thoughts, and which leads to stress.
Okay. Uh, you need to attempt those actions. If you have a fear, suppose you have a fear of height, so you try to do that activity. I mean, not alone. You can go with someone to a height and see how it feels. Try to experience that. Many times, what happens, we do not attempt something for which we lack confidence, and our lack of confidence turns into fear. And gradually, we try to avoid those situations and those kind of conditions. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Leo, would you like to ask any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I had a question regarding cognitive behavioral therapy.
Hmm.
How does it exactly offset anxiety or mental disorders?
Yeah, that needs individual I mean analysis. It cannot be generalized. The theories are somehow, I'll tell the theory, like when it comes to cognitive, it's about your thinking process. How do you think? So by discussing with you on several issues, we can be able to know your thinking pattern. And if there would be some kind of thinking pattern which is uh, not healthy, that would be asked to be changed or replaced with some healthy thinking pattern. Then when it comes to behavior, like you must be doing some kind of behavior very repeatedly, and for which uh, this kind of experiences are coming to happening to you more often. So both your thinking as well as behavior patterns would be analyzed. If there are any thing which is not appropriate or which is creating stress in you or anxiety in you, that would be corrected. But that depends with all individuals. It cannot be generalized here. Like cognitive is thinking and behavior is how do you behave in it. And many times behavior therapy works best for us. I mean, um, like children, they would be uh, mostly responding to behavior therapy, and adults will respond more to cognitive as well as cognitive behavior therapy. That's what I can say.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Rahul?
Sir, in the story of the frog in the tower, the deaf frog could only climb up because he was deaf.
Yeah.
But pretending to be deaf in real life, won't it count as blissful ignorance?
I understand your question. That's very pertinent question. But there is no other way. You don't have another way. Tell me if you have another way, then we would also get benefit of this. You can't stop the society to talk about you. You can't stop people to say something about you, can you? Nobody can do that. What you can do is you can change yourself. You can do something about it. Nobody else is going to do that, isn't it?
Yes, sir, that is true.
Yeah. So that's why we human beings are thinking about this, and no animals to think about this. And have you ever heard that animals have a heart attack? They have anxiety disorders?
No,
It's not.
sir.
It's human
Yes,
beings
sir, I
because
have
we
heard.
think. Okay. So time is over. We have to stop the class here.